Players can spend up to 7 time each turn, but spending less might reward them with additional cards for their hand, instead of having to use time to draw more cards. Whoever spends the most time on a round determines how far the round marker advances around the track, and when the round tracker has traversed an entire year of time, the game ends and final scores are tallied. As the round tracker moves, it exits and enters new seasons during which different kinds of mushrooms grow and certain environmental effects may exist. The most lucrative way to earn points is to get map cards to climb the giant mountain, pick a king of the mountain mushroom, and sell it for a fabulous amount of gems. Obviously, the game looks good on the table, and I feature this at least once a year at one of the local conventions. It always attracts applause and admiration from passerby. But it's also a genuinely fun game. It's a delightful time maneuvering those gnomes around the board, picking and selling their mushrooms. The combination of hand and time management works well, and provides non-stop interesting decisions for players to make. I love analyzing the board and trying to make the best use of the terrain cards I have. Getting your gnome to the one store that is still paying top dollar for mushrooms towards the end of the game is very satisfying. Time for another Top 5 weekly countdown list. Since this year has been unparalleled in Kickstarter excitement so far, I thought it would be fun to count down the top 5 Kickstarters that I've backed over the years. In general, I've enjoyed most all the projects I've chosen to back. It's very rare that one disappoints me, though there happened to be 2 last year. With the recent reaction segment I did on Kickstarter reprints, I think it's appropriate that my number 5 favorite Kickstarter is Princes of the Renaissance, an epic auction game from designer Martin Wallace, and the first reprint project from publisher Mercury Games, who would go on to do the reprint Kickstarters for Container and the upcoming Big City. But I'm glad they did Princes of the Renaissance first, because that had been a grail game for me for a long time. When I was first getting more seriously into board games, I went through the top 1000 on BGG, and added a bunch of games to my wishlist based on theme, designer, and mechanics. One of the games was Princes of the Renaissance, which I added because of the designer. Initial research into the game proved that attaining it was unlikely, as it was going for hundreds of dollars on the secondary market. When Spielbound Board Game Cafe first opened up, they solicited requests on games to add to their library, and the first one I suggested was Princes of the Renaissance because I really wanted to play it. It was an unrealistic request because the game rarely came up for sale back then, so it was an easy backing decision when the Kickstarter was announced. And the game did not disappoint. I had heard Princes of the Renaissance was an epic experience, but I was not prepared for the awesomeness that 3 hours of intense, non-stop auctions brings to the table. I love how choosing something to be put up for auction is just as important as winning the item or not. Timing is everything in this game, and the choosing of what things are auctioned off when and oh so carefully tactically manipulating those auction wins to yield success to the game is so satisfying. It's not an often played game for me because of the player count requirements and because of the length of the game, but it's a memorable experience every time it does hit the table. It's pretty much the Twilight Imperium of Euro auction games. Well, that will do it for episode 39. Thanks for listening. Feel free to join the Out of the Dust Podcast Guild at BoardGameGeek.com. Follow the podcast on Twitter at OutofTheDustBGG. Leave a comment at the Guild. PM me on BGG under user handle Radagast14. Or email me at radagast14@CenturyLink.net. And join the Out of the Dust conversation yourself at our monthly geek list at BGG. Alright, play me out, Ananda!